From Kotaku. Ooh, one of our favorite sources. That's right. Elon Musk and Asmongold are fighting after the streamer accused him of being a fake gamer. Fans have called BS on Musk's path of exile to obsession. Okay, let's slow down there, friends. Many of you watching this show may be like, you guys know the meme where the guy said, I'm 50 and all celebrity news looks like this? Curtains for Zuzka, Bat Boy flips a grunt or whatever. This is what a lot of people are. I saw a lot of people post this and they were like, they posted the meme next to it. And I'm like, it's very good. Let me give you the English version. Elon Musk is accused of censoring an individual who criticized his video gameplay and accused him of cheating. Thus, the owner of one of the largest social media platforms has been accused of censoring conservatives over H-1B and now an individual who impugned his honor. I don't know that it's actually exactly true or what happened, but Asmongold, a prominent YouTuber with millions of subscribers, saw his verified checkmark disappear while he was sleeping, I guess, and then come back later. To be fair, I do find that kind of hilarious that Elon Musk was just like sitting there at Twitter HQ and he's like, no, delete, you're verified. And then a few hours later, it was like, crap, and put it back. It's actually kind of funny.
It is funny. And but it's transparent.
The accusation, I suppose, is, or I should say the concern is that Elon Musk is abusing his power as the owner of this platform and going after his critics.
I think it was funny. I mean, it's silly and petty stuff.
He did leak DMs too.
That's bad. That I legit think is bad.
Yeah,
he really shouldn't
I don't
do
think
that
you
stuff.
should ever leak DMs. I think that's rude.
And to be honest with you, like there's a lot of stuff that Elon's done lately that I really wish that he hadn't done.
Like H-1B visa stuff.
I mean, not so much that the way that he got into the H-1B visa argument, yes, but banning a lot of people, even like some of the real scumbags that are annoying on X. I don't think that it's good to ban people and stuff like that, mostly because it gives the people that don't like him and would love to say, oh, he's not really this. It gives them something to talk about. So I think he should. If I were him, I would just ignore them and leave it alone. But this is just silly. So I mean.
Yeah, the H-1B thing was interesting because it certainly looked like for a long period of time there was an attempt to get Elon Musk and Donald Trump to fight each other.
Right.
To get MAGA to go after him. Mm-hmm. And then sure enough, when this controversy pops up, certainly a lot of people went to war over it. I do believe there was a campaign, an op, as it were. And it works really well. It's a hard thing to navigate because what happens is...
So you think somebody was facilitating trying to gin up to fracture America first over the topic of H-1B visas?
I would say it is, based on the evidence I've seen, extremely likely that there were bot accounts attacking people and posting abhorrently racist things targeting Elon to try and create a rift. It's fascinating to me. The narrative the week before was that the corporate press was trying to create a rift between Trump and Elon. They were running these stories saying Donald Trump secretly is angry at Elon, saying these things about him. And then Trump supporters were posting Elon and Trump aren't going to fall for it. Then all of a sudden, you get a bunch of accounts that are not verified, and they're posting very racist things. They're making direct incendiary comments with the genetics of an Indian man in particular and posting his photo over and over again, trying to personally offend a friend of Elon Musk. Many of these accounts, so I'll give you an example. I talk about how you know they're bots, and it's because they post things that are either antagonistic, nonsensical, or don't align with what you posted. For instance, there are a bunch of non-verified accounts with few followers that post weird things in response to anything I do calling me a Jew. Right? These are not real people.
Right.
There's no human being on their phone being like, wait, did Tim tweet? Better call him a Jew again. When the same accounts over and over again seemingly say the same things over and over again, you're like, yeah, these are not real accounts.
Right.
So what I noticed when this whole thing went down was that there were accounts that, for me, it was interesting because I initially tweeted, this looks like an op. Got attacked by a bunch of Trump supporters. However, I disagree with Elon's stance on H-1B to a great degree, and I was very much in favor of shutting it down, reforming it, or doing something like that. When I then posted like 7 different tweets about why H-1B was bad, the responses from most of the visible accounts, they responded as though I said the opposite because they're bots.
Right.
Because the bots had categorized my account or were assigned to my account as pro Elon, not pro or not anti H-1B.
H-1B. Right.
So I've explained this quite a bit, but the way it works is if a bot farm is targeting you and as an individual running it who's doesn't read English or something, and they use a text generator or something like that.
Right.
If my account was listed pro Elon, anything I tweet in relation to the subject would be responded to as if it was pro Elon. So when I then tweet H1B is bad, the response is, you're an idiot. H1B is actually bad and you're wrong. And I'm like, but I said that because they're not real people. So you can see that happening in real time. The average here's why it's hard to fight. The average person can't see that because they don't have millions of followers. So I get 1,000 responses from a wall of bots, and I'm like, look at that. Then what happens is some run-of-the-mill Trump supporter who is a real person claims that I accused them personally of being a bot because they disagreed, which is not correct. That's why it's so hard to navigate through this stuff.
Interesting.
But regardless of whether there was somebody doing something nefarious and trying to create some, fractures inside the movement, I think it's a legitimate conversation, a legitimate topic to have a conversation about.
No one ever said it wasn't.
No, that's why I'm like, great, let's have it.
Yeah.
I went on TV and said, why are we even starting this conversation about a broken system saying we should expand it?
So here's what happens. A bunch of accounts started posting pictures of Indian people and saying abhorrently racist things while advocating for H1B. I believe those bots were actively trying to defend H1B. So it's like a false flag. If the average person goes on X and sees a wall of racist content and then says H1B is bad, they have an emotional reaction against those people, go to their friends and say, I don't know, all those people that are arguing against H1B are abhorrently racist, evil people.
So your theory is who was behind it?
The people who like H1B, I believe, were pushing bot farms. So, I'll put it this way. Some people who are pro H1B ran bot farms that were racist, anti-H1B to make it appear as though anybody who was a critical of H1B was woke, right, racist, white nationalist, anti-Semites.
I think it backfired.
And it does overlap with the whole woke, right garbage, too.
But I think it backfired on them.
I don't think so. In what way?
I think we actually had a legitimate, whatever they were trying to achieve.
No, that conversation existed and someone tried exploiting it.
Right, they tried to.
The conversation wasn't created by bot farms.
No, I know, but I think their attempt to take over or redirect the conversation, I don't think that actually succeeded.
It did.
You think so?
When Elon
I think
Musk,
a broader conversation
when
off
Elon,
of social media, though.
When Elon Musk tweeted that these vile racists should be excised from the party, you see, people don't know what he's talking about because they don't see the bots like he does. And so then when I agreed and said these fringe identitarians should not be welcome, it gets taken by people who are not bots as though I'm insulting them for criticizing H1B, and so is chaos. And we're not talking about the goal of the bot farm and the operations on social media. The goal is not to create a one-for-one inversion. Like today you will support Elon, tomorrow you will not.
Right.
It's to create friction and chaos and to increment things by degrees. So it looks to me as, I will say this, one, bots are true. Elon called them out the moment he got into Twitter and started going through it. We know they exist.
Yep.
They operate every single day on every single issue. Some of them get flagged, some of them get banned, some of them do not. I think it was Elon was basically pointing out that the federal government was operating bots to sway public opinion as well. And he said, now I'm going to charge you money because you need verification to be visible.
That was interesting, too, because he said that it was possible that Twitter had been overvalued because there were so many bots.
Yep.
And Twitter had counted them as users.
And they did. That's right.
Yeah.
But my whole thing being
they all do.
Whatever took place online and whatever
platforms.
Elon said, I mean, obviously it was a minuscule part, and I'm sure there were some people that are genuinely racist. Most of them were bots. I think that actually led to a greater conversation about, wait a minute. I would argue.
Let's hold on right there. The conversation existed before bots started trying to disrupt it.
But I don't think a lot of people that actually ever paid attention to the H-1B visa program in as much detail or as much attention as what took place a few weeks ago.
The bot attack and the H-1B conversation are two entirely different circumstances. The conversation around H-1B existed.
Right.
It still exists.
Okay. Yes.
The bots trying to sow chaos with racist posts is an entirely separate thing that did not create the conversation on H-1B.
No, it tried to redirect it.
It sowed chaos.
Right.
And it shifted opinions of some people in bad directions.
I guess I would push back a little bit and go, I'm not sure what significant percentage it might have shifted in
It
a
doesn't
certain
need to be
direction.
significant. The point is, if these are, it's all about. I described this the other day. Casinos don't win by going head to head with you in a game of blackjack and winning all your money. They win by winning
Chipping away.
0.5% every year. So when these accounts, I made this point about groypers. I said Nick Fuentes' fans, the people who go in chat rooms and post vile rape threats to children, are not Fuentes' fans. Those are people trying to attack Nick Fuentes.
Yeah.
How do you effectively attack Nick Fuentes? Claim to be a fan and then threaten to rape a child.
Right.
What happens then is a regular person who's never heard Fuentes or heard his arguments says all of his fans are weirdos who threaten children, which is not true.
Right. And you think that has now affected the H-1B visa debate?
Maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 2%. But look, man, I go on X and I'm looking at some of these posts and I see 50 tweets from people posting pictures of Indian people, calling them a whole bucket of racial slurs in every possible direction. And the only thing you conclude is this: no reasonable person who wants to stop H-1B would do that.
Correct.
The
Right.
people who want H-1B want to smear their opponents as evil racists. So
And it
when
was actually
a
pretty
regular
effective.
person enters, a regular person walks into a room and says, "Hey, what's this H-1B thing about?" And they see a bunch of people screaming racist things. They
All
go,
the racists
"Whoa."
are for.
Right, and then
All
they
the
think
racists
maybe
wanna
I'm
ban
not,
H-1B.
Maybe not. I'm not in favor of reforming it.
I don't want to
How
be
many-
involved with those guys. They're racists.
So if there's all these bots on X, how many bots are there on TikTok pushing all this stuff?
Oh man, I assume
Like more.
massive numbers, and we can't see it.
Right.
Like we know that when Elon went into X, we could see these things, but with these other with TikTok, we can't see anything.
But I
No,
think
it's totally obscured.
so. Just my take on this is it might have colored a little bit around the edges, but I don't think it fundamentally changed anyone saying we have to have a real conversation about H-1B visas. And the immediate reaction being, well, you're a racist.
There is an ongoing campaign from disaffected liberals to label people as woke right, to gatekeep and effectively sow discord. And they're doing it because I think Jack Posobiec has it right when he calls them diet woke. These are disaffected liberals who are saying things like, they're basically using the phrase woke right to refer to anyone who is on the right. First, they'll target Candace Owens and say, look at her criticism of Jews. She's woke right. Anybody who has concerns about Candace Owens' views on Jews, Israel, U.S. liberty, whatever, might be like, whoa, woke right. Then James Lindsay calls Orrin McIntyre the example of woke right, and Orrin McIntyre is like a post-liberal. And it's like, well, what? Then he calls Tucker Carlson woke right. Then Michaela Peterson says anybody who's critical of H-1B is a racist woke right, and you see where it's going. Disaffected liberals are creating an umbrella term to call everybody racist the same way the woke left had been doing. This is diet woke. They're doing the same strategy. So when you see a spattering of weird accounts with like random string text names, no followers, and they're not verified, and they're insulting Indian people in rather disgusting ways, I'm like, yeah, it's not a legitimate anti H-1B group. This is an operation to try and sow discord and make the people criticizing H-1B look bad.
What's post-liberal?
So you're going to have to, if you want a great in-depth response, the best thing I would suggest is watching The Lotus Eaters.
Okay.
But I can give you a very, very surface level understanding. So I'm not a conservative. I probably lean post-liberal. The idea being that for the long time, I was a liberal and I believed in universal principles, things that we should hold to be true and protect. And then you slowly start to realize a few things. Liberal ideas actually got us to this problem in the first place by allowing evil people to be evil. Ideas like we should defend free speech even for those we disagree with results in people who want to destroy your free speech destroying it. And so at a certain point, you actually say, we should protect free speech for those that believe in free speech. There's a limiting to the principle, but an easy way I kind of explain. I look at to what it means to be more post-liberal. And again, Carl Benjamin would give you a much better breakdown because he was the OG classic liberal YouTube Gamergate guy. Now the post-liberal podcaster.
Would you describe yourself as post-liberal?
Leaning in that direction. I don't know enough about it, and I don't like joining factions. But I would put it this way: we had the conversation yesterday as it pertained to TikTok, when Bobby Sauce was arguing that if we believe in small government, we shouldn't give the government more power to ban things. And I said, yeah, that's liberal. He
Yeah.
chuckled like I was calling him a liberal. I said, no, that's literal. That's a literal liberal philosophy of there are universal principles that must be protected. Easiest example that came up was during COVID. Here's a question for you, Ned. Do you think that parents should have the final say when it comes to medical decisions for their children?
Of course.
So you think a parent that wants to sterilize and castrate their son should be allowed to do it?
Interesting.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
So you don't believe parents should have the final say. There are certain circumstances where the government should intervene and where the government should not, meaning
Like
there
with
is no
Christian
benefit of
scientists.
culture.
there
and
is
society.
no universal principle over parents having the right of final say on the medical decisions for their children. So during
Where do you draw the line, though?
your personal morals, and that is a post-liberal understanding of, hey, wait a minute. We argued free speech should be for all, and then we realized actually, the communists who don't believe in free speech have weaponized it against us, are taking it from us and destroying everything while we sit back and let them do it.
That's like when people criticize, people don't like what you say. The people don't like if you're saying, we should have mass deportations. And they're like, oh, really nice Christian values you have. And it's
Exactly.
like, you're an
Right.
atheist. Shut it.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't even
know?
believe in this.
I had
So-
someone come at me recently with Christian values. And I'm like, these are the Christian values that I am upholding, in fact.
The my body, my choice stuff is a big awakening when you realize the hypocrisy of liberals. They say my body, my choice for abortion, but not for vaccines, meaning my body, my choice is not a universal principle to these people's morality.
Intellectually incoherent.
They're not liberal, they're
What's
illiberal.
interesting, too, is you had liberals in the 90s coming down hard on Christian Scientist parents who didn't want to seek medical treatment for their ill children. And those are the same people now who want to get in the way of parents refusing to allow their children to have sex changes.
Let's break it down in the way that really hits at the culture war. If a conservative parent has a child in school and that child says they're trans and they want the surgery, the government in a liberal state will keep that information from the parents so the parents don't have a right to make a decision as to the medical treatment for their child. If they were in a conservative state and the parent said, I'm going to help you do it, the conservative state would intervene to stop the parent from doing it. Conservatives would agree with that. And in the inverse, liberals on the other side would agree with the state intervening to give the child a sex change, meaning depends on your personal morals, I guess.
Yeah,
Where do we draw the line is based entirely on what we believe to be good or bad and what will improve this country or not. So post-liberal is more like that, which I think is fairly obvious and correct for that reason as just described. But for me, it starts with my body, my choice. It starts with free speech. The left has this Karl Popper meme where he's like, if you tolerate intolerance, eventually the intolerant win. And we scoff and laugh at them as they utilize this fascistic ethos of might makes right against us. And for the longest time in the 2010s, I, as well as the classical liberal bunch, kept saying, if Twitter bans a leftist, we will stand up to defend their free speech because we believe in free speech. The moment they got unbanned, they'd come out and file reports against us to have us banned.
Well,
Boy, were we stupid for doing that.
It's like the Neil Gaiman thing.
I will defend free speech for someone who believes in my free speech.
Right.
So if Nick Fuentes says we should have free speech and they go to ban him, I'll say, hey, look, man, he stands on the principle, may not agree with his opinions, but he deserves free speech. But a communist trying to strip away our rights to free speech, when they get banned, I'm going to say, ha, ha, ha.
That's like with the whole Neil Gaiman thing, the author. So he's been alleged to, sexual stuff. He did wrong sexual stuff, apparently. It's what everybody's saying. But he was opposed to women's rights and in favor of, men being in women's bathrooms and men being able to be called mother and all of this stuff. So you have all of these sort of post-feminists who have been saying, Me Too went too far, looking at Neil Gaiman going like, well, enjoy it.
Yep.
I haven't said anything about Neil Gaiman, and I was like very opposed to the whole Me Too thing. And it's like he's been out here, advocating for child sex changes and whatever else. And I'm just like, well, suck it, Neil Gaiman.
So
enjoy
one thing,
enjoy your allegations.
I think another thing. So basically, on the surface, it might appear that post-liberals and conservatives have a lot of things in common, but they're actually quite different. Mm-hmm. Conservatives have traditional moral values they want to uphold. Post-liberal is not too different in some ways, but largely about realizing the liberal ethos led to the creation of policies that have destroyed everything. For example, the 1964 Civil Rights Act is an absolute outcome of classical and then traditional liberalism. What does the 1964 Civil Rights Act give us? HR departments.
Right.
By law, there's nothing you can do about it. So we actually have a couple stories about DEI departments shutting down, and Phil made this point before the show started. So long as they have HR, they have DEI.
Right.
And it's because as someone who runs a company, I know exactly what the insurance companies require. I am required to have insurance. There are certain things I can't do without insurance. I'm not going to get into the great details, but yep, you want to buy a certain product, run it for your business, they're going to ask you if you have insurance. You want to open a store, you got to have insurance. Insurance company is going to ask you, what do you do to mitigate against these particular things? Why would we insure you if you're going to get sued for a violation of all of these rights? So long as that all those titles exist and the Civil Rights Act exist, you are going to be required by law to have weird things in your business. You will, like, let's say you have a business and you're in rural West Virginia, which is 99.9% white. You will get sued for being racist, and they will cite the fact that your company is majority white. And when you try and argue it's because people here are white, it won't matter. You will lose. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.